Today's class on Power Automate. We spent the last few weeks talking about Power Apps and how you can create your app. Special thanks to our mentors, Victoria and Omolola, for helping and supporting us through that learning journey. So the plan is to teach Power Automate today. And after Power Automate, we are going to go into Power Virtual Agents next week. So it's important to, yes, you've understood Power Apps, but one of the major tools that ties seamlessly into Power Apps is Power Automate. That's why we thought it was important to teach you what Power Automate is, how does it plug into Power Apps, how can it help to solve real life problems, and that's why we are here today. All right, so my name is Fuyolaji Bello and I'll be running this Power Automate class. If you have any questions, please feel free to stop me at any point in time, or mute your mics, or drop a message in the chat box, and I'll be happy to answer them. So what is Power Automate? Um, all right. Let's get started. So looking at Power Automate is that engine that enables automation, right, in a process. So I'll give an example. We've created an app, right? So let's imagine that we've created an app for leave application. So people have come into the app to say, I would like to go on leave. They've said the dates they want to go, the time, the reason why they would like to go, what type of leave they want to take, annual vacation, sabbatical, study leave. All of that has been filled using the Power App that you created. So the next thing is when the user clicks submit, what should happen? It needs to go for approval, right? Because if you imagine a world where we're filling paper forms, probably when I finished filling that leave application form, I will take it to my manager and maybe my manager's manager, and then I'll take it back to HR for final approval. So imagining that now in an automated system, what would happen is you fill the form on your Power App, and then when you click on submit, your manager should get a notification telling him or her that the phone has submitted an application and it needs to be approved. So that engine that sends the notification when your manager approves lets you know that, oh, your manager has approved, has gone for the second level of approval, and then that person approves again. Then it goes to HR saying, oh, phone's managers have approved that she can go on leave. All of that engine and that automation will be done by Power Automate in this scenario. So Power Automate is basically that tool that helps us with repetitive tasks. So for example, do you find yourself downloading email attachments and then uploading the file to a database? Power Automate can help you do this. Does the process of getting a new purchase order approved involve you taking a form from desk to desk to get sign off? Like I just described in the leave approval process. Power Automate can help us also do this. Do you have to log into a website every morning and find daily numbers and then save that into another system? Power Automate can help. So Power Automate is all about having computers manage repetitive tasks. The Power Automate allows everyone with knowledge of a business process to create a repeatable flow that when it's triggered, it leaps into action and performs the processes. So some common scenarios, like I've said, is automating repetitive tasks, like moving data from one system to another, guiding a user through a process that can be completed at different stages, connecting external data sources via one of the 100 plus connectors that we have available in Power Automate, and then also automating desktop-based processes with robotics process automation. That's what we call RPA. So those are the type and a few examples of the kind of scenarios where you would need to use Power Automate. Do you have any questions? Okay, so let's continue. Manual, repetitive, and error-prone tasks are a drag on the strategic thinking needed to drive any business forward. To improve business processes, organizations need an efficient way to scale automation across the organization. So Power Automate wants us to do is to enable us create a more productive system organization, a more productive workplace where rather than you having to do all those repetitive tasks and you're there doing all these tasks every time, you can ask the system to do that for you, and you can then have time to do more strategic things. You can have time to do more research. You can have time to do other things that would make you a better professional in that whatever field you are in, and will make you more valuable to the organization. So Power Automate has pre-built templates, so you can, if you want to do, like if you have any scenario, and we'll see that in a bit, you can build all these flows and automations using these pre-built templates. We also have 300 plus connectors that enables us to connect to our favorite applications that are non-Microsoft. Very simple example. I have documents in my personal OneDrive, and I prefer to store my documents in Google Drive. So I can create a flow to say whenever a new document has been stored in a particular location of my OneDrive, move that document to my Google Drive. Very simple. But what would have happened previously was that I'll have to go there from time to time to copy that document from my OneDrive to my Google Drive. So these are the kind of things that Power Automate enables us to do. And it has 300 plus connectors. So you can connect basically to 300 plus systems out of the box. And that's one of the things that makes it so powerful. And then it integrates to Microsoft ecosystem. So of course, we have our authentication layer, Microsoft Azure, and then it works seamlessly with the whole Microsoft 365 ecosystem and also Dynamics 365. And it also connects to your data on premise. So you can say, for some of my systems, don't speak to the cloud. Well, that's fine, because with Power Automate, using the data gateway, you are able to take data from your on-premise environments into the cloud and back on-prem. So when we say on-premise, we mean a system that is not accessible over the internet. So sometimes you may get into some organizations where they say for X, Y, Z reasons, maybe security, sensitivity of data, PII data, GDPR, or whatever reason, they cannot put this particular type of data in the cloud. It needs to sit outside of the internet. But you need to automate a process. You need to link that data to another system and take it back. Power Automate allows you to do that because it's able to connect to both cloud services and services that are on premise. You have any questions? Okay, just checking the chat. All right, well, fine. So this is a simple example of an approval. So this is a purchase order approval, right? Approvals are very great. It's a very great process to build using Power Automate. So you can see the example here says a user starts a process by going to Power Apps and creating this purchase order. So once the submit button has been selected, the information is sent into Power Automate, and then the flow immediately starts off to trigger for the approvals. And from Power Automate, because it seamlessly connects with Azure Active Directory, is able to pull the user's manager automatically and then send the approval request to that user's manager to approve. Another example is, this is the purchase order continued. So the manager receives, and what you just see on the right is what the flow looks like, right? So this is the view when you're building it. Here, when you're building it, this is what it looks like. So after the manager, receives the approval and approves, the flow can then provide conditional logic. So something like saying if the purchase order is greater than $10,000, send it to a VP. If not, then automatically approve it. So you can see the condition here. If it's greater than 10,000, if yes, ask the VP to approve. If no, email that the amount has been approved and then end the process. So that's how that purchase order was concluded. Now we have three types of flows that you can create with Power Automate. The first one is event-driven. We call them event-driven flows. We have the business process flows, and we also have the desktop flows. Now, event-driven flows are flows that you build with a trigger and then one or more actions. So, for example, the approval flow is an event-driven flow because it's built from a trigger. We're saying once Victoria submits the purchase order request, then do this, send an approval request to her manager, then do this and do that, So that's an event-driven flow. Then the only difference, then we also have my flows and team flows. I'll show you that in a bit. But all that is saying is once you share a flow with somebody else, then the flow moves from my flow to team's flow. Then what is the business process flows? Business process flows are built to augment the experience when using model-driven apps and Dataverse. So I know Molola taught us about Dataverse last week. So business process flows helps the users to understand where they are at every point in time. So it's like a timeline, like a flow that helps the users see that, okay, you are in step 1, you are in step 2, you're in step 3. So it's a guided experience. It's used to build a guided experience in the model-driven applications. And then we have the desktop flows. Desktop flows were formerly called UI flows, and these are used for robotic process automation. And it allows you to record yourself performing certain actions on your desktop or within a browser. You can then trigger a flow to perform that process for you. You can also pass data in and out of the process, letting you to automate even a manual business process. So this is what a desktop flow looks like. It's like is Microsoft's RPA, and you can build your desktop flow by recording your screen, just in a very layman language. So you have certain tasks that you always do that are kind of repetitive. The RPA can mimic those tasks. So simple example is you want to connect to a remote server, you want to open up a third party desktop application, get data from it, save it to a remote server. So all of those things are not like events driven processes. They are like completely different system, because this is what you do every day. So what you then do is you record and mimic that process, and then the RPA is able to do the same thing that you're doing because it has learned the way you do it, and then it does it for you. So that's the whole desktop flows. That's Microsoft's RPA, robotics process automation. Okay, any questions? All right, so let's continue. So you can also add artificial intelligence to your flow without writing code. Now, to take advantage of the AI capabilities, you can build your model first and then add that to an existing flow. So when we say AI, what are we talking about? We have artificial intelligence models that are available in Power Apps, and you can also use them either in your app or you can use them also in your flow. We have different types of models that are available. And Microsoft has gone a step further to say you can create some of these models yourself, maybe on Azure, and then bring them into Power Apps. So what are we talking about? Some of these models are, we have the form processor, right? And the form processor basically helps to extract text from an uploaded image or photo that is taken. So very simple example. You're a company, your company receives invoices from loads of vendors, right? And they come as pictures. So what you do at your desk is you have to take that picture, go into Power Apps, you open the invoicing app, and then you start to punch in all the required metadata. So you have dates, you have from, you have time, you have what are the items on the invoice, you have what else? The cost of each item and the total. So you have to do this every day and submit. Then when you submit it, it then gets sent to maybe your ERP system or your accounting system at the back end. But wouldn't it be great if you could just upload that image into Power Apps, and Power Apps is able to extract the text automatically without you having to type anything, and then all of that gets sent to the backend system. So that's the ideal world, and that's kind of cutting out the repetitive tasks that we're talking about. And that's one of the things that AI Builder helps you to do with the prompt processor. So for the prompt processor, that's it. It's able to read the text from your image. Now, how does that happen? You have to. I'm not sure if Victoria, did we cover AI at all in the Power Apps class? So I'm not like repeating what they already know. Hello, Victoria.
No, we didn't. No, we didn't.
Okay, all right, that's fine. So let me explain. So what happens is within Power Apps, you can, and you probably learn more about this in the intermediate class. Within Power Apps, you can create a model. And what's a model? A model is, you're just creating this robots, and you're saying this is what I want you to do, right? So now I've said automatically when you upload this invoice, the AI model just knows this is date, this is time, this is total, this is the item, and this is the amount on each item, and automatically just puts everything into your fields for you. How does he know that? I'm sure that's what you're wondering. That's where the creating the model comes in. So when you're training your model, when you create your model, then you train it. Creating the model is just using X and Y coordinates. You basically say, at the top right of my form, I have the dates, at the top left of my form, I have address. At this and this, I have an item. And here is my total. So that's like X and Y coordinates, X and Y, and then you give it a range. So when you create that model, then the AI builder understands that, okay, anytime I see an invoice, this is where the this is where the total is. Then you then train it by uploading at least 5 or more documents that have those same coordinates, and then it reads it, then understands it, and then your model is created. So you then take that model and put it in your Power App or into your Power Automate, such that when you open your app now, rather than manually punching in all of those data into the app, it will just automatically read it for you. Anyway, that's what the phone processor does. I know it's interesting. We have a whole class on on AI, on Power Apps AI in the intermediate class, so we'll learn more about that. All right. So we have then object detection, basically identifies objects that are uploaded from an image or a picture taken and is able to count it. So this really helps in frontline workers who are in the store and they have to every time take inventory. So you teach your model, this is a bottle of Coke. And then when you go there with your app, you scan the region where the bottle of Cokes are. Automatically, the model knows that you have 10 bottles of Cokes left and records 10 in the system. Now, where does Power Automate come in? Power Automate comes in all these areas where you then need to carry out certain actions. So After, let's give an example, after the bottles have been counted, and we can say give a condition and say if it's less than 10, then the stock is low. So send an email to the inventory manager to say we are low on Coke bottles. Please place a new order for Coke bottles. But if it's higher than 10, fine, just send an email to the inventory the stock manager to say just send an inventory to the stock manager to say inventory counted 10 or 12 Coke bottles on the shelf. So that's how Power Automate comes into all this. And you can see how closely integrated Power Automate and Power Apps are. So then we have the prediction. So the prediction is a model that just tells you whether something is going to happen or not based on historical data. So it can tell you from what I've studied, this customer will probably this customer is probably going to say no or going to say yes, or this project is going to be successful, or this project is not going to be successful. So that's all prediction goes. And we have text classification. So this model recognizes text by its meaning and makes it easier to analyze. So these are just various models that we have in AI, and we're saying that you're also able to integrate these models into your Power Automate, like the simple example I gave about stock being low based on object detection model that was used to count Coke bottles. And then once it's low, it sends an email. So all of these are the kind of ways that artificial intelligence integrates with your Power Automate. Yes, please. I see Rachel's hand is up.
Okay, good morning, ma. I have a question. I don't know if you are hearing me.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, I'm asking to create the flow for this AI builders. How is it going to be done? Because I know that the first thing you do on Power Optimate is to choose the type of flow you are going to use, and the next thing you choose the connection. Like if you are using Outlook email, you choose it. But I'm asking now that if you want to create the flow for this AI to take action, what's the next step? What's the thing you are going to choose on your
Wait, so when you want to create an AI, let me just uh, can you see my Power Apps?
Yes.
Okay, so our class for today is not AI Builder, but I'm just going to show this very quickly. When you want to create you actually start from your model in this scenarios. Why is this not moving? You start from your model itself. You create your model first, and then you attach your model either to your flow or to your Power Apps based on what you're trying to achieve. Okay, it's not coming up. I just wanted to show us, but this is where you find it. Um, Here, my models. Okay, do I have any models here? Okay, I have some. Oh, so let's see. Use model. So when you say use model, then you can either put it in a Power Automate or in your Power Apps. So these are the ways you can use your model after you have created it. And again, depends on what you're trying to do. So, but you link, so you for AI Builder, you create your model first, and then you link your model either to your Power Automate or your Power Apps. I hope that answers the question.
Yes, thank you, ma. I also
Yeah.
have another question. Sorry.
Okay.
Power Apps, if you on the Power App Studio, if you are creating an app, if you go to AI Builder, there's a sign on these types of AI, those form processing and text. They have a sign of premium. So I'm asking, is this services, is it a premium service? Like, do you have to pay, or it's part of a developer account? You can actually access it with a developer account.
Yeah, so they are premium. They are premium. It's premium. Short answer. It's premium, but you can have a trial. So you can see when I logged on, it told me my trial has expired, and I just said extend my trial. And then I was able to extend. This is a developer account. This is our Textiles developer account. So I was able to extend the trial, and I have trial again for 30 days. So you are able to create a trial and then explore all of the possibilities in the AI builder. So it's premium, yes. So what that basically means, if an organization is going to use it, they need to pay. But because we're just using it as developers to test, then we just have to request for a trial. Use it for 30 days. If it expires, you can extend it again.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Fantastic questions. Thank you so much. All right. So in Power Automate, you have the ability to manage your your flows rather through the admin.powerplatform.com. And basically from the Power Platform Admin Center, you're able to see the entire Power Automate section. You can create your data loss prevention policies, which are very important, because what happens is when people start to know how to use Power Automate, it's really powerful, and they can basically take out all your company data to their personal drives. So lots of things can be done. So it's very important to create some governance around it using the Power Platform Admin Center, which is the same admin center that you have for Power Apps. So it's one central admin center, and from here you can create DLP policies to say, this is what I want to do. This is what I want my users to do. This is what I don't want my users to do. There. So I think that's a completely different class, but this is what a DLP policy looks like. And we have 3 buckets basically: business, non-business, and blocked. So if your organization has policies around, they don't want users talking to Twitter, to, I don't know, Facebook, they don't want users using any connector apart from Microsoft official connectors, then you move those connectors to blocked so that nobody can use it, right? And then your DLP policies can also be based on environments, or based on, you can lock your scope. The scope for your DLP policies can be all the environments. So whatever environment anybody creates, you don't want them to use Twitter, Facebook, or anything. Or it can be based on certain environments. You say, okay, for the developers environment, they can use everything. But when you start getting to UAT, you start getting to production, none of these policies should need to be used. So yeah, so that's how. And then you can come here, Power Automate, and basically see all. You can see information here. So Power BI is the one working behind the scenes. You can see how many cloud flows we have run, desktop flows, what's the usage like, any errors people have been experiencing, connectors, just like, and it gives you insights as an admin to understand what's going on in your environment. And this is also very useful because you can make informed decisions from this analytics. And then you have command PowerShell command, let me see, what do you call it? PowerShell commandlets that you can also use to manage your Power Automate and have deeper control of it. All right, so this is just a case study of how a company called TruGreen used Power Automate to drive their digital transformation journey. Basically, they used it to, they had a Power Virtual Agent bot, which we'll learn about next week, which was used to facilitate handling routines from customer requests. And they also used it to take action based on the customer's intent. Then they were able to expose whatever data from the back end by using Power Automate. Say the customer asks a question to say, for example, how many leave days do I have left? Power Automate goes into the HR system and is able to bring out the data, surface the data to that user in the chatbot. So that was how they used some of the connectors, and they used loads of connectors available in Power Automate to connect their traditional data. Is that my connection? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. You
Yes, we
lost
can
you for
hear.
some
Yes.
time.
you can.
I can hear you now.
Okay, sorry. It looked like I dropped for a bit. Okay, so let's see Power Automate in action. And then after this, we will just create a few flows together so that all of this kind of comes into perspective. We see it's like working practical terms. All right. Okay, I think I need to reshare my screen because I have to share my sound. Just 1 second, please. How do I stop sharing? Okay, let's see if we can hear. I don't know, with the web. It seems to
Now
be
that you've learned about Power Automate and how you can use it to
Can you hear?
Yes.
Oh, fantastic.
Yes, we can hear now. Yeah.
Thank you. Not hear me, hear the video.
This video will guide you through options.
Yes, we can hear it.
As we walk through the various options in Power Automate.
I can't hear the video.
Sorry?
I'm not hearing the video.
I can't hear
Okay.
the video.
You can hear the video. Great. All right.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I'm more used to Teams Web, so I can't figure out how to share my sound. Anyway, let's get started. Sorry?
No, I was saying we could hear it earlier, and then it looked like maybe you were on mute. So I don't know if we're just hearing it through your speaker, like your mic. But I could hear it.
Oh, okay. 1 second. Let me see. I'll just leave my mic.
Repetitive processes. This video will guide you through your different options for getting started.
Yeah, we can hear now.
We walk through the various options in Power Automate. Think about not only the workflows you can build, but how you can
I
take
can
advantage
see
of
the video.
hundreds of connectors and their triggers and actions to drive business value with a no-code.
Can I see the video?
The video is not playing. You can't see it.
What do you see on my screen now? Nothing.
Be more
Customer
productive
case study.
automatically.
Yeah. It's just getting started. It's what it is at my end also. It's just getting started. Right. So it'll start moving in a bit.
Okay, can you reshare your screen because I can see the Power Automate screen.
Yes, that's what you should see. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
To get started, let's navigate to flow.microsoft.com in your browser. This is the home of Power Automate and provides you all the resources and capabilities you need to get started. After a few seconds, you're brought to this screen where you have different options for getting started. And let's begin by starting from a template. So down here, there are several different templates available that are pre-packaged for you to provide the functionality where you just enter the inputs of the data you want to work with, and it goes from there. You can either browse through the list of templates, you can search them by the different types of templates, or you can search by a keyword or a connector. So in this case, let's type in Microsoft Forms and see what options we have. After a brief moment, we're presented here with lots of different pre-configured templates using the Microsoft Forms connectors. So we can see like recording responses into SharePoint, sending emails to the responders, or other additional options. And let's go down here and maybe we want to take advantage of one of the more complex ones so we can see what the things look like in action. To do that, we'll look at the Approve a Microsoft Forms response to add a row to an Excel spreadsheet. So we're going to click on the template. This then brings you to a screen that loads the additional information about what this particular template does. And if you scroll down to the bottom, then you have the different connections that it will use. If you've not previously used these connectors, you'll be prompted to sign in, but we have. So in this case, we can click Continue. And now we have a complete flow where we just walk through and we configure the options. So we would choose the form from the list of forms we've previously created in Microsoft Forms. Then we would connect that in. We would then have an approval process, right, to prompt to accept this approval. Here we can configure things like what is the information that goes out, who does it go to, so we could send it to always to ourselves, we can send it to our manager. We have different options here we can take advantage of. And then we get into the conditional logic of a flow. And so if the response is equal to approve, so if that is yes, then we have the ability to add a row into a table. So we would then choose the Excel file that we want and then send an email approval. Or we can scroll back up here, and if we have a no scenario, then we can send a simple email saying your response was not accepted. This gives you complete flexibility in your solution, and this is a great framework to get started. So if you want to add additional steps, maybe logging to another data source like the Common Data Service, looking up the user's manager, or even sending out a tweet based on this response, all of these are available to you thanks to the rich connections and the easy-to-use interface in Power Automate. You just come in simply, hover here, and say insert a new step, add an action, and now you can choose your action. And then once you choose your action, such as Microsoft Teams, then you can see you have the ability to post a message, for example. So great way to take one of these template apps and extend it and use it for your scenario. So look at additional ways to create flows. Click on the create button on the left again. Now at the top, you can see that there's 3 ways to make a flow where you can start from blank. And so creating an automated flow, an instant flow, or a scheduled flow, these are still your standard types of flows like you just looked at creating the template. These are just starting you with different triggers. An automated flow would be one where data has changed. So maybe you got an email in your inbox, some data changed in the Common Data Service or on your SharePoint site, and you want to then have that trigger or cause your flow to take action. That would be an automated flow. An instant flow, this is one where you press a button. This could be a physical button like a flick. This could be a virtual button like in the Flow Management app or in Power Apps. So having the user press a button that then causes your flow to go and run. And then finally, you can set flows to run on a schedule. So maybe that's every morning at 8 a.m. Maybe that's the first day of the month. Maybe that's every 15 minutes. You have the ability to set different occurrence schedules for that. In addition, you can create a business process flow. Business process flows are the ones that run on top of your Common Data Service, and are often used with model-driven apps to help guide the user through the process. So that way, when you onboard a new customer, you can guide them through the various steps and stages of the process along the way. You are now ready to use Power Automate to build your first flow without writing a single line of code. What business process will you automate first?
All right. Okay. I hope someone is excited because I am. Okay, so let's start building. Before then, quick knowledge check and summary. So it basically said that Power Automate, allows you to bring automation to your business processes. And we've covered some examples of how we can use Power Automate to automate our processes. It also gives us great flexibility. We explained that there are different types of flows and where they can be used. We also said that you can design your flow to pull data from many sources because we have 300 plus connectors. And you can also include your AI models into your Power Automate. The Power Automate can be built from scratch, that's from blank, or you can start off with a template. So it's just important to know that Power Automate is a web-based service for automating your business processes. So Power Automate, to create the business process flows and the event-driven flows, you do that on the web. But if you want to create your desktop flows, then we have a Power Automate desktop application that I use to create desktop flows, which is the type that we said you use for your robotic process automations, right? So how do you know when you need to have a desktop flow? You need to have a desktop flow when you have very, in my definition, irregular processes that touch on loads of application, especially when it has to do with things like you have to launch an app from your desktop, or you have to go to the particular website to get data off that website into an Excel sheet. Very funny type of non-straightforward processes are what you usually use the robotic process flow or robotic process automation for, which is the desktop flow in this instance. And then, of course, Power Automate has hundreds of data connectors that can also help us to move data from one source to the other. It's also important to say that Power Automate can connect with your data that is on-premise. It's not limited only to data in the cloud. So if you have certain data that cannot go to the cloud for certain reasons, then Power Automate is able to connect to them on-premise. And you can do all of this without writing traditional code. Okay, so let's start. Who wants to help us? answer question 1. Rachel, do you have another question, or is it the same?
Okay, I have a question. I've noticed in choosing conditions and actions on Power Optimate, sometimes they'll have an Outlook email. For example, there'll be something like Outlook email V2 at the side, or there will be V3. So I'm trying to ask, what does those V2 and V3 mean?
Okay, great question. So what happens from time to time is that Microsoft creates newer versions of their connectors. So maybe you discover that particular connector cannot do certain things. So when they create a new connector, they just basically say version 2, version 3. So it's advisable to use the latest version, and with time they start to deprecate the older ones. So in the Microsoft documentation, they'll tell you that, oh, this version has been deprecated. I'm trying to look for a document that I was reading in the past week that had all of this stuff. I'll dig it out and share on the chat window where you can see it explains to you what V2 does, it explains to you what V3 does, especially with the Outlook connector. Then for V1, so that V1 has been deprecated, so you can't use that anymore. So that's basically the difference, just more features in the newer versions. Yeah. All right. So who's going to help us answer these questions? It's my turn to ask a question. And I want to hear somebody's voice I haven't heard since the beginning of the class. And if nobody offers, I'm going to call names. So who's ready?
I'll go for Power Automate is only administered via the web portal, because you said it's web-based.
Yes. Not exactly.
Okay.
No, not exactly. Yes,
Okay,
but
then,
I can
then
go.
C. Then C then.
I'll go with the third.
I'm coming 1 second, please. I'm looking for my. God, I have so many windows open. I'm looking for my Teams window so I can see who's talking. Give me 1 minute, please. I have like, I don't know, 500.
Okay, this is Franca.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, yes. So yes,
C,
C actually.
C.
Yes, because you can also administer with PowerShell commandlets. Yeah, so C is the answer. And also, even when we're building the flows, we can make certain modifications to it. So the answer is C. All right, thank you so much. Who's going for the next one?
Welcome.
Okay, I can see a hand up. Please go ahead. Sorry, I'm trying to find any.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay. I'll go for you need to download no, not download it, sorry. Directly from the Power Automate Builder website.
Yes, that's where
Yeah,
you
for
find
that,
it.
yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's where
we'll
you
go
find your templates. Thank you.
for that.
All right, I think I have one more.
Sorry, could you go back to the last question? I didn't really get that. Hello? Okay,
Yes.
thank you. Okay, thanks.
So it's basically saying, we spoke about the templates that we have, especially in the video. It showed us that we already have some pre-built templates. So it's just asking that where do you find these templates? And you find it from the Power Automate Builder website. So when we say Builder websites, we just mean that page, basically this page where you start creating your flow from. So this is what they mean by the Builder website here, right? So that's where you find you from. Okay. And the last question.
Okay. I think I'll go with the third option. Power Automate can connect to data sources using one of the 275 plus pre-built connectors or by building your own custom connector.
Yes, that's correct. So we now have 300 plus connectors and it keeps increasing. So at the time this was written, it was 275 plus. But that's why they always put the plus anyway. So when it becomes 300, it's still 275 plus connectors. So that's the answer. You can use data sources from all of these many connectors and even build your own custom connector. So you may find situations where you want to do something, but the connector is not available as one of the out of the box connectors. Then you can build your own custom connector to achieve what you want to achieve. All right, so let's get into it. Let me jump out of my slide. Let's do some demos. Drag this here. All right, so what's the first thing we want to do? Come on, gosh, I have to make things open. So let's build our first flow for today. And we're going to build a simple flow. Let me see, which one do we start with? Let's start with the scheduled flows. So you want to build a new flow, you come to your Office 365 menu or app launcher, and then you click on Power Automate. That's how I got here, basically. Okay. So here, click on it and you click on Power Automate. So even if you're on Power Apps screen, once you come to this app launcher, then you can click on Power Automate and you see Power Automate right here. So you want to create your flow, right? So you come to create. Now, I always advise that when you want to create a flow, right? Of course, the first thing is that you need to even understand what you're trying to do. So in most, well, not most, but in ideal situations, you should have kind of built out a simple process map that helps you to understand what's going to happen end to end, right? Just a simple, you can use VC or any other diagrams, draw IO. There are different various tools available now to draw process maps. So sometimes you may have a business analyst on your team, like I was describing in Rachel's Twitter space yesterday, who would be responsible for ensuring that the business requirements are clear, properly documented, and he or she would build out this process map that helps you as a Power Platform developer to understand end to end what's happening. But you also have some situations where maybe it is very small process, or maybe it's just for you in your team. Then it's ideal to have a process map that shows you what happens end to end. Because what happens is, as you start to draw your process map, you start to discover some gaps to say, okay, so what if the manager doesn't approve it? What should happen? Or what if the second level manager says, no, I'm not approving it? What should happen? Should he go back to the requester and the person starts to fill out a new request? And when the person is filling out this new request, should he go back to the first manager again, considering that the first manager has approved the request already? Or should you go directly to the second manager? So those kind of questions start to come up as you start to draw your map. And the map gives you a visual representation of the business process flow, right? So the map is drawn, you understand what you want to do, then you come to Power Automate, right? But don't come to Power Automate if you don't have, I would advise, if you don't have 100% clarity on what you want to do, don't come here yet. Understand what the process is end to end. Yeah, sometimes you may have situations where they say an email goes to a team to action a request. Of course, it just goes as an email saying new request has been assigned to you. Then you say, what if somebody forgets to attend to it? How would this team remember that they need to do this? Because it's probably an email and it has dropped in the lower part of their box. Then the person says, oh, I want a reminder to go to them every day until that task is completed. So you then know that you need to include this in your flow. Anyways, that's it. So when you come to your flow, the first thing I think you should do is, go to the templates. Because sometimes some things you want to do, there's already a template for it. So why reinvent the wheel? Like we saw in the picture, in the video, we just said Microsoft Forms. I'm searching it right. Sorry, that's the wrong place to search for it. So come home, templates. Where are you? Templates. Yes, this is where I should be. Microsoft Forms. Yeah. So from here you can see notify
Can you
me.
take that again? What was your first step? What the first thing you clicked was create? Then
No,
what next?
no, sorry. So the first thing I did was templates. So what I'm trying to explain is it's always good when you understand the process you're trying to automate. After understanding it, come to templates first to see if there's an existing template that meets your requirements. Right? If there is none, that's when you go to create and then you start creating. But always come to templates first. Sorry, did I answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, all right, great. So from templates, you can then search for, so I know that what I want to do, I'm getting my input from Microsoft Forms. Now, a big question will come to mind. We have a tool called Microsoft Forms in Microsoft 365, and it's basically like Google Forms, just a simple web form that you can fill. So as many of us fill the form for this cohort, it's just very simple this way, So sometimes you may not necessarily need to build a Power App to get your data. Sometimes a Microsoft form can get the data, but it depends on the complexity of the kind of data you're trying to get. Let me put it that way. So if it's just a simple form, that's 5 questions, nothing fancy, you just want to get basic information on something, you can use Microsoft Forms. But you start to use Power Apps when you have lots of complexities. For example, you want to use the person field from SharePoint list. You want to create a a nice looking interface for the users to land on. You want to create certain conditions on your fields to say, if this person picks this, then show this. If the person doesn't pick this, then show this. You want to pull out some data from Active Directory. That one was really key. And from my experience, you can't do that in Microsoft Forms. So for example, you want certain fields to be auto-populated based on data that already exists in your Active Directory. So when I say Active Directory, I'm talking about Microsoft's native authenticator, which most organizations use. Any organization on Office 365 uses Active Directory, right? Just a step back for some of us that are not so techy. So basically, Active Directory is like a telephone book, a telephone directory. Or, those days we used to have hard copy telephone directories, like your mobile phone. So you store your friend's name. For those of us that are a bit picky, we store first name, last name, you store company, then you can also store the person's email address, work phone number, all of those details, right? So the way you have your phone directory is also the way we have this thing we call Active Directory from Microsoft that stores all information about the employees. And then in Active Directory, you can also store the person's department, location, you can store the person's manager name. So all of those information and more can be stored in Active Directory. So in Power Apps, you may have a requirement to auto-populate certain fields. So a user is logging on, right? We already know you when you log on. So if we know you, we can get to your department. We know you, we can get to your manager. We know you, we can get where you're located. All of that based on the central directory that we have. So that's not possible in Microsoft Forms. So those are just a few examples off the top of my head as to when you will use Forms against Power Apps. All right, so back to the teaching of today. My voice is breaking. Is my voice breaking? Is anybody else experiencing that?
No, you sound clear to me.
Okay, so
No, I can hear it clearly.
all right, thank you.
I think it's from the person's hand.
All right. So when you come here again, we want to start creating our flow. So we just know that, okay, I just have a very simple form that I want to create. So I'm going to start from Microsoft Forms. So you can search Microsoft Forms and you can just see descriptions of the different templates to say, okay, Send an email to a responder when response submitted in Microsoft form. Okay, so this is just a simple flow that will send an email to the person who submitted the form, right? So it's really clear. Like when you read it, you can see what it does, and then you can then decide. So it says notify the team when a new response is submitted. Okay, let's see what's here. So you click on it, and then you continue. So the first thing it's asking is for the form ID. So it says, okay, you want to notify a team when there's a new response submitted on the form. Which form? So I can come here and say, okay, is my Global Power Platform Bootcamp form. Then I click the form again. So you can see that everything is already done for you. Like all of your trigger, your actions, everything is already created. So all you're basically doing is you're just plugging in your own data here. Then you can say post as a flow bot to a channel. You need to select the team. So let me look for our cohort 3. Let me see if I can find it. Cohort 3 team and our Power Apps channel. Okay. Testing. Anyway, so that's it. And we're done. So I just say GBB and then I can renew my flow here. The flow test. Okay, so let me test my flow. Let me come back to forms. Let me click here. Preview. So let me respond for you. Wait, let me check if my flow is on. Let me see. Okay, it's on. Because sometimes when you create your flow, you need to turn it on. So the status is on. So that's fine. So let's submit. It's closed. Oh, closed it. Okay. Let me open it. Settings, accept responses, preview, quickly fill again. All right. Okay, so when you come back here, so this is an overview of the flow we created now. So whenever you create a flow, even if it's from templates or from blank, when you come to my flows, if it's a cloud flow, you see it here. So this is the flow we created just a few minutes, 1 minute ago, right? Then you can click into it. You see all of your run history is here, right? And it's only stored for 28 days. Then you can also come to all runs to see. So if you have a lot of runs, you'll probably just see maybe about 7 or 8 here. But when you come to all runs, you can see everything here in all runs. You can also refresh if you're not getting the response very quickly, right? Okay. So let's see, has anything happened in Microsoft Teams? Let me come to here. Open Teams and see. New tab. All right. So do you have any questions? No. Okay. Sorry, I have loads of Teams. So let me come here. Okay. So this is it here.
So the items that you pulled up, the title, that GPPS and all that, you put them in the system, right?
Sorry, just wish I understand. You mean like here?
You know, it's yes, yeah, that GPPS stuff.
Yes. So
you didn't type anything. You just dropped down and pulled it up.
Yes. Okay. Yes, I get your question. So what's happening is I have because everything is happening on this same tenant, right? The Power Automate is just intelligently showing me all the various Microsoft forms that I have, right? So I can select anyone. All of this long string here is the form ID, right? But once you select that form name, it will automatically pick the form ID. So that's why I'm just selecting, because the system knows already these are all the forms you have. Which one do you want to use from it? So I
No,
selected it.
I'm asking, are you the one that created those like in the past, or they're in the system?
Oh, I
Because
created all these forms
when we start
myself.
now, we're going to have an empty
Yes, you will
platform,
have
I,
it.
I guess. So what are
Yeah,
you going to see as, someone that's just going to start to do that for the person? What will you see there?
it will be empty. That's what you're going to see. You won't see anything because you won't have all these forms I created, right? So if you want to use that template I used, the first thing you do is you need to create a form and just call it anything random, right? Oh, wait, I thought. So you need to start from here. I have all those forms because I created them before. Choice. When you create it here, add on, then it's saving it automatically for you. So when you come back to your flow, where's my flow? And let's assume that you're starting again from the template and you're picking your template and all. You will then see what you just created. Forms. Let me pick this one. Or maybe the same one I used before. Where is it? So all of this will pop up by default for you. Then you say continue. So when you come here, you will only see your form that you just created. This is the one I just created now. So does that answer the question?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
So do we need to like create forms ahead of this doing the flow?
Yes, you can if you want to test that one. Yes, you should actually. But let's do another one that would be more connected to what you've done before. So yes, your short answer is yes. Just create just a small form like this, and then you can test out the flow. And the flow I used again is notify a team when a new response is submitted. So this is the one. This is the template we just tested. So Victoria, can we have an example that kind of connects to what they've done? They use SharePoint list, right, for their Power App. I don't know if Victoria is still on the call. So can you tell me who has been in the last two classes? Did you use SharePoint list to create your app?
In the example, we used that, but some of us don't have access to Microsoft for Business, and so we don't have the SharePoint list to use. So like I use Dataverse because I don't have access to it.
Oh,
but we did see an example of it though.
Okay, all right. So you can basically start from scratch. So what we did now is we started using a template, right? And there are various templates. You can just play around with it. You can use any template you want and test it out, right? I've used post weather updates to my email where every day at, I don't know, 3 a.m. I get the weather report for the day. So they are just fancy things that you can even do for yourself. So that's one option. So let's assume that you want to create a flow and that template doesn't exist. Then you come to create and then you start creating from scratch, which is the next thing I'm going to show now. Rachel, do you have a question? Oh, I can't hear you, please.
Now, hello, sorry, are you hearing me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, so I'm asking that after creating a recording app on Power Apps, and can you be able to use Power Optimate, like after a person adds different people into their tenants on Azure, and the person shares the app to different people. So is it possible that after that, when the person shares the app, that when people start recording details into that app, that you can use Power Optimate, that the person will have a notification when they start adding a record into the app?
Okay, so you mean like you've created an application and you have shared it with people, so you want to know when people have started inputting data into it.
Yes, that anytime a person inputs data into it, that you get a notification. Like if it's possible using Power Optimate to achieve this.
Yes, it's possible. It's
Okay.
possible. Yes, it is. So what you can do is whatever database your app is connected to, you can say when a new item arrives, send an email notification. And we can show that in a bit now actually. So let's start. Automated cloud flow. I'm just going to skip this step. Whenever you want to create your flow, you start with a trigger, right? It's just basically saying, hello, I'm your personal assistant. When do you want me to start working? Right? So you can say, I want you to start working when what happens? When a new item is added to a SharePoint list, right? So that's the example I'm going to use. When you click on SharePoint, it will show you all the possible triggers that you have in SharePoint. So what we just want is when an item is created, right? And you can also do this for Dataverse. Just pick Database and see when an item is created in Dataverse. So let me look for a Power App so that everything just kind of comes together in our minds. Let me use this Sleeve app that I created. I just want to be sure of the data source. The data source is pointing to. Okay, that's a very simple app that I hope works. So let me edit this. Yes, so this is where my app submits its data to, right? So just see. All right. So my app submits data here, right? So what do I want to do? When a new data is added to this list, this SharePoint list, right? So I come back to my Power Automate and say when a new item is added. So I can just call this leave app I don't know, first. You have to tell Power Automate to say, okay, you want something to happen whenever an item is created in a SharePoint list. Where is your SharePoint list? Then you say, okay, my SharePoint list is located here. So you actually have to stop at the site address, which is class demo, custom item. Or you can search for it too. Let me see if it will come up. So if I say class demo, it doesn't come up. So when you search for something and it doesn't come up, just enter it as a custom item and paste it here. Let me paste it here. Right, so class demo in my Leave app. Right. So whenever a new item is created inside my SharePoint list called Leave App, what do I want to do? Right.
Sorry, I missed that step. How did you pull up the box for entering as a custom item?
Okay, here.
What did you click that brought up that?
Okay, so 1 second. You don't show again. Let me start. Let me start again. So we have new automated cloud flow. Then we have SharePoint. Right. When I'm saying when an item is created, so then I need to say where the address is, right? But my class demo wasn't coming up, so I clicked on this little arrow, and then I said add custom item, and I came here to paste it, right? But for SharePoint addresses, the site address stops after sites / the name of your site. All of these other things are not required, so that was why I took it out, because I copied from the list itself. Like I copied the entire thing. But if I come to class demo, then I have the list. This is the link to the site itself. And that's what I need to enter in there. Right? Are we together? I hope I'm not losing anyone. So this is class demo, site address. Then it's now saying, okay, in this site, we have so many lists. Which one do you want? Then I say, okay, I want my leave app. Does that answer the question?
Thank you.
All right, fantastic. Okay, so now we have said, let me give it a name again. Always ensure you save your flow. Leave out test. Then let me save. Oh, at least one trigger. Okay, I'm coming. I'm on it. So now we say when a new item is added, what do you want to do? So let's answer Rachel's question first. We want to send an email, right? So I'm going to send an email. We have various mailing engines, but the Microsoft's native one is the Office 365 Outlook, right? So we can then use Office 365 Outlook, send email, read to. So here, who do you want to send the email to? So you can paste it here. So when you do from the SharePoint list, one step back. In Power Automate, you have what we call dynamic fields, right? Which is this dynamic values. And that basically means you are able to pull values from whatever action is before or trigger before. So now because I have when an item is created in SharePoint list, it's able to give me all of the fields that are there. So who do you want to send an email to? I can either send to employee name email, manager email. So if you come back to my Power App and I open this, right? Remember that my Power App is submitting to my SharePoint list, right? So see, I have employee name here, I have manager here. So this is just a very simple app. So I can decide to say whenever this is a new Leave app is created, just send an email first to the person that created it to say your leave was successfully submitted, your leave request. Let's say leave request. Submitted, right? And this is called a dynamic field because whoever is the person that submitted that leave request, that's the person's name that will be held in this space, this employee's name, right? So if I fill mine now and I submit, my name will be held here. If Rachel fills hers and submit, her name will come into this bucket. If Jana fills and submits, her name will come into this bucket. So that's why we call it dynamic. It's not static. Static is just there, but dynamic changes based on whoever imputed it. And then you can kind of just type your name here. You can say there, come to dynamic field again, and say the display name, your leave request, created on, I should to get this, let me see. Back here, I should have the dates. Let me see, created, yeah. So SharePoint automatically stores the created dates. Let me see. Yeah, when this item was created. So your leave request submitted on has been received, whatever you want to type, right? And approval is in process. You can also say then you can click the leave type from here, because I think I'm also submitting my leave type. So I can come and say leave type value. Let me see my app. Annually study leave. Okay. All right. So then you can save this. We can go a step further to add an approval step. To say I can wait for an approval. So we have different approval types. That's what you see in this drop down. You have approve and reject. Everyone must approve. So there are some processes that you would come across that would say, unless everybody approves, this process cannot move forward. So that means everyone must approve. Then you also have this one, first to respond. So sometimes you have 5 people in a pool and you just tell the flow, whoever, if any one of these 5 people respond, we're good to go. Then custom responses is you don't want to say approve or reject. You know, there are some processes you come across that may say reviewed or concur or what's the other word for reject? Disapprove or decline. Some people may be very particular about the word reject. They'll say, no. We don't want users, we don't want our employees to feel that a request was rejected. We prefer some language that is softer than reject. So they can say disapproved or, I don't know, declined or something. So when you have those kind of scenarios, you can pick any of these two based on either everyone must respond or just one person. But that gives you the flexibility of typing in what you want to show. So let's take the first to respond. But if it's only one person, then you make use of first to respond. New approval, new maybe leave request from, then you pick my name or whoever's name. So whoever is the person that wants to go on leave, you put the person's name here. Then who is it going to? You pick the manager. Manager's email here. Then yours may not show like this. I'm not sure. This icon showing up here is a preview, a public preview. I don't know if it's now available for everyone. So you may show in a different way, but it's the same logic. So this is where you put in the body of your email to say, dear manager, not a function, dynamic. Let's see, manager display name. Then you say X, Y, and Z. Regards, HR team. All right. What else do we want to do? Then we add a condition. What's our condition? This condition control is here. Then we'll say if the response from this manager is equal to approve. So I come here and say, why is it not coming up? If outcome, right? The outcome of this is equals to approve. But mind us, if we're using something else here, like the custom responses, and you had something like concur, then that's what you put here. But I'm using approve because I use the approve or reject. What do you want to do? Want to send an email to whoever made the request to say, "Yay, your leave has been approved." So click here and you look for the employee's email, employee name email, then subject leave approved. Okay, then body X, Y, and Z. Then if no, what do you want to do? You also want to let the person know. So another interesting thing you can do in Power Automate is you can copy to clipboard. So I'll copy to my clipboard. I come to my clipboard here and I can paste it. You have to be careful though, because you have to remember to change your values. So I saying if no, then we have leave approved. So you have to remember to say here, maybe leave request rejected. And then you put the reason why. All right, so are we together? Any questions so far? I get it. Can I say show of hand? Somehow, I'll get it more when I practice. Can I say show of hand just to be sure that we're together? Uh-oh. Thank you. All right. Okay. So let's test it. Fingers crossed. Anybody crossing your finger and your legs for me? That the demo gods are on my side today. Okay, let's try it out. So let's start from the beginning. I've not used this app since I created it, so but I think it will work. What's the title? I leave request. Okay, my name is admin, I think. What department am I in? IT. I want to go for my annual leave. Wait, for me 1 second. Let me check if my okay, it's on. Okay. Annual leave, and who's my manager? Admin is also my manager. Any documentations? No. Okay, so let me just check my SharePoint to be sure my information came true. Okay, it's there. So let's come to our Power Automate. Nothing here yet. Come on. Okay. Just wait a few seconds. Okay. Now it's coming. So let me check my email. I think that was the first action. Open this in a new tab. So we said when the new item is created, send an email that says your annual leave created on has been received and approval is in process, right? So yeah, Power Automate kind of shows the date and time in a funny way, but there are various ways of formatting date and time. I can dig out some links and share with you to help with that. Then we said you should send an approval email to the manager, right? If you remember from our flow here. So if I edit this, so this is what has happened now. A new item has come into our SharePoint list here. This has come in. So when this came in, then it sent an email to the person who sent the request, which was me. So that is this email here, right? Then after that, we said it should start an approval process and send an email to the manager. So remember, I'm also my manager with this XYZ in it. So So that's why another email arrived right after it saying, there is an XYZ here, right? So now we want to approve the request and say approved and submit. So upon approval, what should happen? An email should come to the person that made the request saying leave approved. And that brings us to the end of our flow. So if you come back here and we see that our flow has successfully run in 2 minutes. Any questions?
Yes, please. I'm trying to figure out how you got to that forms place to create the form. Well, I guess that's the first thing that we need to do because I have a blank screen.
You mean the Power Apps? You mean
Okay,
this
the form was in Power Apps. No, the first step, my initial question was where you picked your own form from, that GPP form. That I don't have any forms at all on my platform because it's the first time. Yeah. So how did you create that form in the first place?
Okay. So to create the form, just go to Microsoft Forms. So all of these, I'm assuming that you're already on Office 365.
Okay.
That's why I'm just starting from the launcher. So if you go to Microsoft Forms, you will see new form here.
Okay.
New form, and then you can just create any just like a regular web form. I just put any dummy question in it, and it's even recommending some questions to you. So you can just put in any question here to just say name and email. That's all. And save it. You don't need to save it, it saves automatically. And you just created a simple test form that you can use for your test out that template that we did. Right? So this that. But if you want to, the second thing I showed was through a Power App because I assume that some of us already have an existing Power Apps that we created from the previous classes. So if you have one, then you can, test out this approval flow by using when a new item is created in my SharePoint list. But if you're not using a SharePoint list, if you're using something else, then you can also use that. So for example, if you're using Dataverse, you can just come here and search for Dataverse. A new row is added or modified. So then it will give you the same options. Don't know if I have added. Jana, I'm just showing this. I know it's mentioned you have Dataverse. So you can pick your table name here. And then, I don't know, I don't sure I have any tables. Let me use accounts. And then the scope. Then you then continue and say send an email. So if you're using a SharePoint list, you can use when an item is created. If you're using Dataverse, you can use when a role is added, modified, or deleted. And then you just specify and say added here. And then the same thing happens for you. All right, any questions? So I think our take home would be for us to, number one, test out a template, any template whatsoever. Test out a template just to have a feel of what it means to work with an existing template. And then you try to create a new flow from scratch. Right? So let's do this too before next week class. Though next week we're going to be talking about Power Virtual Agent, but I can come on very briefly for the first 10 minutes to see what we've done. So create a flow from blank and another one from a template. Any questions? So that's our take home. Please work on it. We have our WhatsApp group now. So if you have any questions or any area that you're stuck on, you can send a message, and either myself or any of the Power Apps mentors, because they're also geniuses in Power Automate anyway, would help you and support them. Okay, all right then. So thank you so much for joining today's class, and see you all same time next week. Have a great weekend and a fantastic week ahead. Bye.
Thank you for have a nice